Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Winford High School. Seated with me is the bowling program here at Winford High School with girls head coach Barb Huber. I also have a couple of boys bowlers with me. Before we get started, though, I'd like to remind you that this show is brought to you in part by Adam Weiser and Associates at Advanced Fiber Technology, Coach Tim Plumley at Mohican Sports Medicine and Rehabilitation, Matt Studer, Spitzler, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Kia in Mansfield, Rob Less at the Edgefield Animal Clinic in Marion, Matt Ramsey, John Ziegler, Drew Young, Frank Heinlein and Associates at Bucyrus Blades, and Roger Brown at Winks Lock and Save. So with me is head coach Barb Huber. Thanks for coming out tonight, Coach Huber. So
thanks for having us.
Starting off with the girls' side of things, you guys are 6-8 overall, 6-8 on the season overall, but you do have something to smile about. Lately, you have a recent win over North Baltimore by a score of 17-69 to 12-85, so quite a big margin of victory there. So what was that match against North Baltimore like?
It was great. We went to North Baltimore, and it was very retro, back to the 70s. They had 6 bowling lanes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and so we took them all, and it was fun. It was fun. They have the old ball returns that you can actually see the balls come back, and I think it took a little while to get used to that. As you're bowling your ball down, there's another ball coming back, but they got used to that, and they bowled very well. One thing that's happened of late is our girls are doing much better at picking up their spares. A couple weeks ago, last week, it doesn't matter, we got paper out, and we didn't turn the screens on. We didn't let the kids see what their scores were. We made them keep score on paper like the old days, speaking of retro, and I think they learned how much importance there is on doing well after a strike or a spare, because those pins count back on that frame as well. So since then, they've done a lot better. I'm very proud of them.
And although you don't coach them, I'd be interested to hear your comments on them. The boys team, just from looking at the Facebook page, have been quite good this year. They win against North Baltimore as well, 2,221 to 2008, with Kobe Knopfsinger being the high series bowler with 335. So if you can comment on that match for the boys at all, if you saw any action there.
Oh, I did, because we actually finished before they did, which is unusual. So I got to watch the end of theirs, and it was very tense because it came right down to the end of our Baker games to determine who was going to win. Like, the last frame even? Last three frames. And so it was very tense. And I don't know if they had just a little struggle getting used to those lanes, or I don't know what the deal was, because I wasn't down there for the whole thing. But just happy they pulled it out, because they are in first place in the NOBL, our league. And we have one more match against Fostoria on Wednesday. And if they can hold on and win that, we win the league.
Awesome.
So, yeah, that's great.
Although she is not seated with us tonight, just scrolling a little bit on the page, which, by the way, if you guys want to check out the most expansive sports page ever, the Winford Bowling page on Facebook has everything you could ever want. Cheyenne Dunford looks like to be probably your guys' top girls bowler on the team, and I'm going to guess she's a senior as well.
Yes, she is.
So what has Cheyenne been able to do kind of throughout the season to try and lead this team and be quite an accomplished bowler?
She is quite an accomplished bowler, but what she's been able to do for the team is keep us all calm. She does a very good job of just settle down, it's okay, and just as in golf and some other sports, once you bowl a frame, you can't get it back.
Right.
And sometimes it gets in our head that maybe we think we can, and Cheyenne's very good at keeping the ship righted and everybody calm as we bowl. So that's probably her best leadership quality.
Awesome. I saw you guys took second place at the Winford Winter Classic Bakers Tournament. Is this the second year you guys had it?
Yes. Yes.
So I think that's kind of something to note, that you guys place quite high. It's something you guys host. So what has it been like to be able to have, Winford, how many years has bowling been a varsity sport?
Three.
3? So just in your third year, you guys are now hosting a tournament. So what has that been like to be able to host something and play so well at it?
It's great. We had a lot of fun at that tournament, and we were full house. We had all lanes taken, and that was an accomplishment. That wasn't the case last year when we had our first Bakers tournament. But being up there as number 2 was great. We were number 1 for a while, but again, sometimes we get in our heads,
right.
And so, but yeah, we were happy with number 2, so that was great.
Last thing to touch on before I talk to the kids, the Mount Vernon Nazarene University tournament, which was on the 14th of January. Samantha Dornbreyer had the third highest series at 583. And talking to the boys 3 weeks ago about that, it was a college style tournament.
Yes.
So what can you take away from the girls' side of things and how they did there?
I can take away that they adapt well to different oil patterns on the lanes. That was a tough shot. That was a college shot, and it just means that it's something that they put down that's a little tougher, and the oil is different than what they put down for high school shots. So we were very happy with what we took out of there, and again, just have to stay out of our heads. And I would say, I would venture to say that if we were back at Mount Vernon right now, since we're picking up our spares so much better, that we might have even done better than we did. So
And that's always important to see, throughout the season, not plateauing, but constantly improving. It's always something good to know.
And they have.
Before I talk to the kids, I'd like to remind you that this show is brought to you in part by Lee Plymel at the Plymel Insurance Group, Bucyrus and Galleon, Hannah Newton at Wendy's, Bucyrus and Upper Sandusky, North Central State College, Mansfield and Crawford Success Center in Bucyrus, Tabitha Smith and Associates at Waycraft Industries, Rod Steiger and Associates at Pizza Hut, Bucyrus and Galleon Pizza Provider for Coach's Corner West, and the Burkhardt family at Burkhardt Farm Sales, your Case IH dealer on Manette, New Winchester Road. So up first, we're going to talk to Kendall Knopfsinger, the lone sophomore we have here tonight. Thanks for coming out tonight, Kendall. So, being the lone sophomore here, you're one of the youngest person here at the table. What have you been able to note from so many seniors being around you and kind of taking away from their leadership roles that they've had?
It's definitely like you always want to push yourself to get better, and definitely being around a lot of seniors, they're always going to push you, and they're always going to want for you to always say get that spare or get a strike or move so you can adapt to what you're doing.
And being just a sophomore and this being a third year for the varsity program, all you've known for Winford Bowling is to be a varsity program. So you've kind of had a different perspective than the people sitting around here. So what has it been like for you to bowl just purely varsity now as opposed to just small meets at Suburban Lanes? I'm sure what it used to be to now. You're at tournaments, you're bowling against a lot of other schools. What have you taken away from that?
I feel like our program is definitely expanding, and even from last year, we only had a varsity team, and going from this year, we had a varsity and JV, and we also had, I think, 2 subs. So
Awesome.
It's definitely a lot better.
Well, thanks for coming out tonight, Kendall. I appreciate it. Up next is Emma Morrison, a senior here at the table. Thanks for coming out tonight, Emma. So I talked to the boys a little bit when I talked to them, and they seem to have a pretty definite perspective on they like synthetic lanes more than wood lanes. What can you comment on? What's your favorite place to bowl at, and what would you prefer between the two?
My favorite place to bowl at is actually our lanes, Suburban. I don't like the real oily lanes. I always fall on those. I can do a lot better at our bowling lane.
Now, is Suburban Lane synthetic?
Wood.
Wood lane. So you don't like synthetic lanes.
No.
So have there been any meets matches this year that you've bowled at and you can definitely tell a difference with how the lane is and how you're performing?
Oh yeah.
So-
With the oil, if it's too heavy, your ball goes, and sometimes you have to control it different ways. So it's just all about adapting, I guess.
What would you say that your least favorite place to bowl is then? It's all right if you don't have one.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because Tyler Bender the other day said Cooper's Bowl, so I was going to see if you maybe said the same place in Marion.
No, it was the one
With the circle ball returns.
Galleon?
Lexington.
Tomorrow.
Cardington.
Tomorrow late.
Tomorrow.
I'll mark it
You
down
had a
for
good game
tomorrow.
that day.
Well, thanks for coming out tonight, Emma. Next up, we have Maddie Ridge, a senior. Thanks for coming out tonight, Maddie. Have you bowled all 4 years of high school?
No, this is my first year.
This is your
actually.
first year, so a lot like Kendall here, you've only known Winford to be a varsity sport. So, coming into this, bowling your first year as a senior, what has it been like to have to, out of nowhere, become a leader on this team just in your first year bowling?
Not as hard as you would think, honestly. Obviously, everyone around me is underclassmen, but as much as everyone tries to keep their spirits high, you got to help everybody, and even Kendall's a sophomore is great at keeping me up too when I get down on myself.
And if you had to take away, the season starting to come to an end, is the NOBL match coming up soon?
Saturday.
Saturday. So, your season's starting to on the downturn of things. You're going to start looking back on what's something you've taken away from the season, how you're going to translate it later on in life.
You always got to start somewhere. My starting average was, I think, an 88 at the beginning of the season, and I just pulled a 165 on Wednesday.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, I think you can apply that anywhere in life. You got to start somewhere if you want to be good at something.
That's a great perspective to have. And what would your favorite bowling lane be to bowl at?
Suburban's probably my favorite.
And
because we're used to it.
yeah, would you say with bowling, with like football and basketball, there's absolutely like a home field advantage or a home court advantage. Would you say bowling at Suburban, you have necessarily like a home lanes advantage against other
Definitely.
bowlers?
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming out tonight, Maddie. Good luck going forward. Next up, we have Kobe Knopfsinger, a senior. Kobe, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I talked to you guys 3 weeks ago, and you guys are absolutely on fire in the NOBL, and quite a lot of boys too as well. I can't remember the exact number. Was it 18
Yeah.
boys that you
I
have?
think so.
Yes.
So you have enough boys for a varsity team, a junior varsity team, and then another junior varsity team, and that JV
And then
team.
2 subs
And
on
2
top of
subs as
that.
well. So, it's great to see the program growing this much in just the 3rd year of varsity play. So anything to comment from the last 3 weeks that you've seen?
Past 2 weeks, JV's got us both times, but bowling at North Baltimore, the ball return went all the way to the lane, so it was very hard to adjust to. You can't kick your feet out, getting into your form, and it took a couple of us to get used to it. But at the end of the day, we came together. We lost to Pleasant on Wednesday last week, but that was our 2nd loss of the season. But we just keep moving on.
And if I remember correctly, we were talking a little bit about the NOBL, and Liberty Bend is in that league, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
And they are one of your only 2 losses on the season. So with the NOBL match coming up, is there anything you're looking forward to bowling against Liberty Benton?
Yeah, I believe they have the top 2 bowlers in the NOBL. It's always fun to bowl against them. They give us a challenge, and we always look forward to it. So it's going to be fun.
All right, well, thanks for coming out tonight, Kobe. And lastly, Brian Schiffer. Thanks for coming out tonight, Brian. Got a bit of a cough going on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And just recently talked to you guys as well, but I'd be interested to hear how you think the season's been going since I talked to you guys. I know Coach Lilly stressed a lot about picking up spares, so is that something you think you guys have improved on within the last 3 weeks?
That's definitely something we still need to improve on, that's for sure.
What would you say has been the biggest takeaway for you this season so far? It's your last year of bowling. You've bowled quite some time in the Switchfoot program. What has it meant to you?
What has it meant to me? A lot, I guess. I don't know how to answer that.
All right, well, I'll take as a lot, I guess, as the answer for that one.
There we go.
And lastly, it's something I enjoy touching on, just seeing this program grow as much as it has. What is, you're pretty obviously a quiet spoken guy. What is your leadership style at the lanes to try and get the team going?
Trying to be hyped, man. Trying to get everyone hyped up.
He's not quiet at the line.
Oh, okay.
No.
So just a little camera shy, I see. That's all right.
Just a bit.
All right, well, thanks for coming out, Brian. Good luck going forward.
Thank you.
Before I talk to Coach Huber one last time, I'd like to remind you that this program is brought to you in part by Blythe Friedley and Todd McDougall at Friedley & Company Insurance in New Washington, Ted Coder at the Monarch Body Shop in New Washington, The Ohio State University of Marion, a Big Ten education close to home, Mike Klein at Ag Credit Residential Lending, Bucyrus, Mount Gilead, and Marion, Dr. Thomas M. Britton at Clubview Vision Center in Bucyrus, Dr. Erica Schieber at Bucyrus Veterinary Service, and lastly, Lou Ann Krebs at River's Edge Embroidery, Screen Printing, and Signs in Marion. So, talking to you, Coach Huber, getting your insight on that topic of transitioning from club sport to varsity sport. I believe when I was a freshman in high school, it was still a club sport, and I knew a couple bowlers, and now that it's being a varsity sport, you have 18 boys. The girls team is growing as well. What has it been like since you kind of have been here since the beginning to see the program grow the way it has?
It's wonderful. And another great thing is that the Board of Education approved another coach this year.
Awesome.
I was doing it by myself.
Right.
And the numbers were growing already. And I just went to Mr. Holman, our athletic director, and I said, look, this isn't going to work because we're getting more numbers, and sometimes we're spread out over the whole bowling alley.
Right.
And so that just doesn't help anybody, including myself. So I think one of the reasons we've seen a lot of improvement this year is because Coach Lilly's on board, and he not only helps the boys, but he also comes over and helps the girls with what he sees that they need to do, and that's been wonderful. So, and I already know some 8th graders who are chomping at the bit to get in the program next year when they're freshmen.
That's great. And with like in terms of like off-season leagues, are you trying to encourage the kids to get into those as well to try and bowl like throughout the entire off-season?
Well, that's a problem because they can't bowl in anything that involves money.
Oh, really?
Yes, so they can bowl on the Saturday morning youth leagues at Suburban, but they can't do anything that the seniors can because they're finished, but the younger underclassmen can't
Throughout
do
high
anything.
school.
Yeah, as long as you're.
Gotcha. And you discussed it a little bit, and I had it wrote down as a note, a lot of close matches for the girls and the importance of picking up spares. So something you've touched on a little bit, and it seems Coach Lilly talked about it as well, just how important it is to pick up spares in bowling.
Right, yes, and I think, like I said, that time that we made them keep score on paper, I think they all saw that too, and things have improved a lot for the girls, I guess a bit for the boys, and so it's better.
And before we wrap up here, the NOBL matches on Saturday. Do you have any matches for the rest of this week?
We do, yes. The boys have Bluffton tomorrow.
Okay.
And that's going to be our senior night. We'll honor the seniors then. There's 8 seniors, 5 boys and 3 girls. And then on Wednesday, we're going to bowl Fostoria, and that will be our last NOBL match. And actually our last dual match of the year. And then Saturday, we have the NOBL tournament, and the following Thursday, the girls have sectionals, and Friday, the boys have sectionals.
Where's sectionals at?
Fostoria.
Fostoria as well.
Yes.
And sounds like talking to some of the boys here, like Winford and Liberty Bend, kind of the cream of the crop in the NOBL for the boys. On the girls' side of things, is there any teams that you're looking to try and usurp coming up on Saturday?
Bucyrus.
Bucyrus.
Yes.
Sounds like they have a pretty good boys program as
They
well,
do.
too. So.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I'll be rooting for you guys, and I'm looking forward to see the results.
All right.
This has been Coach's Corner West here from Winford High School. I'd like to remind you that the show is brought to you in part by Adam Weisner and Associates at Advanced Fiber Technology, Coach Tim Plumley at Mohican Sports Medicine Rehabilitation, and Matt Studer, Spitzer, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Kia in Mansfield. I'd like to thank Dan Messerschmidt and Kim Jenny at the North Central High Media Group for their continued support in this opportunity. I'd like to thank my parents, Chris and Sarah, to my brother, Corey, to all my friends, and of course to all of you for listening to me tonight. Be safe and have a good night, everybody.